Yes, Matt. Okay, so maybe Edgar just got back.
No, he's just started
Okay.
recording because you're
All right.
you've called it to order.
Okay, so this is the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. This is an advisory council to the Board of Supervisors. And I would like to call to order the meeting for July 13th, 2022. And what we can do is start off by taking roll call. And Tom Lang here. George Cleveland is absent. Susan Boudreau.
Yep.
Jim Herman, absent. Dr. McLean.
Here,
Okay. Mickey Norris.
Present.
Okay. And Tom Owens is absent. And do we have Miss Shirley, Shirley Rosenthal Winston?
according to the chat, Edgar is helping her log on.
Okay. So hopefully we'll have her.
Shortly.
We'll have her online shortly, and it looks like she
Oh,
may.
you're okay.
Hi, Miss Shirley, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome. We're glad to see you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, to hear me.
All right, I'm happy you're logged on, Shirley.
Okay,
you.
so
And I just put eye drops in my eye. I have dry eyes, but I'm here. Okay, and so I have the most of the agenda, but I don't have all of it.
okay, so we will then we have the roll call done, and Edgar, treasurer's report.
Oh, sorry about that. Forgot I was muted. Still have 3,000. None of our funds have been used.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll start our guest presentations. The first presentation tonight is Battalion Chief Charles Thomas.
Before we go on, I'm sorry I'm trying to record some of this for my neighbors. Edgar, what is the $3,000 in what fund?
The treasury fund for the MAC. So there's, yeah. And we haven't used any of it.
Okay.
Do you know how we got that money? Was that delegated from the county or some other way it was raised?
From my understanding, yeah. So each MAC gets 3,000 at least in our office. And from my understanding, that's a fund that's provided by the budget. And yeah, and we haven't used any. I can double check with the group and make sure that's exactly where those funds come from. I don't want to misspeak, but yeah.
Okay.
Also, what can they be used for?
From my
That'd
understanding,
be interesting to find out.
yeah, from my understanding, it's for funding kind of, any events that you folks might want to do, or if you're presenting at a meeting and you kind of needs to fund any resources, that's what those are used.
Well, they used to go to the Elks Club too, and we had to, when we were out of the library. I think that was first appropriated for that purpose in case we had to pay meeting expenses.
Okay, why don't we go on to the presentations, since some of our guest speakers are somewhat time limited. And perhaps we can, if there are any further questions, we can finalize it by email. And so Chief Thomas, would you like to give your report for Contra Costa County Fire?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you for having me. If you don't mind, I could share my screen.
Edgar, go ahead, I guess. And
Yes, Chief, I will make you a co-host where you can have those capabilities.
Okay, thank you.
There we go.
Share screen. Okay. Everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Again, thank you for having me. I apologize if I missed any meetings, but your fire district has been busy and doing everything they can to protect the citizens that they serve. This will be a brief overview. Contra Costa County, your fire protection district, El Sobrante. It's going to touch on things like the annexation update, enhancing capabilities countywide, fire weather outlook, safety tips for residents, and what you can do as a citizen to help prepare for this season that's already here. And then at the end, I'll take any questions. The annexation update, East County, decades-long interest and years of planning has finally come to fruition. ConFire has annexed the East Contra Costa Fire District, immediate improvements to fire and EMS services in East and countywide, and that incorporates ALS. Fire Station 95 opened in Oakley, and they've already taken calls, many calls, new stations and crews. And again, ALS, Advanced Life Saving First Response EMS added to Fire Station 95 in Oakley and Station 52 in Brentwood. And so personnel are able to work back and forth from East Contra Costa County now in Central Contra Costa and vice versa. And most importantly, shorten response times. Now that the stations are open, if you're a citizen out there and you're having difficulty breathing, you're not having to wait minutes for responders to come from a station further over. You have a station that's open right there. Related West County improvements. Similar consolidation of fire services for West Contra Costa. Contract for services model planning still in the works, which would bring Pinole Fire into the ConFire family. ConFire and City Pinole leaders collaborating in this effort, and this will be funded by Measure X funding. Would include reopening of the long shuttered Fire Station 74. I was on duty the other day, and there was a young female hit by a vehicle about a half a mile past Station 74. And it was so bad that we had to fly her out via helicopter to John Muir Walnut Creek. And I so wish that station was open right then, because the response time for our personnel to get there was much longer than what it should have been. She did make it. She did make it. Some facial fractures and stuff like that, but she did make it. Continual fire service improvements. Hand crew worker program, Crew 12, phenomenal. They have been on multiple incidents. News Station 5 did a special report on them and how much they helped the fire service in quick response and the work that has been done throughout Contra Costa County, even all the way to Albany. New apparatus support diverse needs, the new Type 6 wildland fire engines, fire dozers, water tenders. We have a number of units that responded and still are on scene of the fire in Pittsburgh, where the peat and wildland area is burning with the overgrowth right next to the water. It's been burning since May 27th. I just found out about it today, but it was my assignment to get crews rotating and operating on there all day today and tomorrow, 24-hour shifts. New and improved stations. Fire Station 86 set to replace historic 86 in August. Renovated Fire Station 4 reopening in Walnut Creek. And again, you're talking about maybe stations that don't have a huge call volume, but the fact that they're open decreases the response time if there's an emergency in that area. Buchanan Field and Fire Station 9 are in the planning, and 3 East County stations. Evacuation goes digital. I know there are a number of meetings where I was asked at the end about evacuation and escape routes and things like that. It's all going on, it's going digital. It has gone digital to where you can enter in on the website and get a lot of information from there. Fire service technology advances. Alert Wildfire Camera Network. And I believe I shared that before, or maybe Chief Gates did. It's a state-of-the-art, high-resolution pan tilt zoom cameras. 10 or more cameras in Contra Costa, more coming, real-time actionable intel. You can actually see the fire, you can see the smoke, you can see the location, you can see what type of area that the incident is in. Situation awareness tools. We all have tablet command response and incident management tools. Again, it's giving us live intel in words and in visual mapping and any updates as the incident progresses. Pulse point, all of us have it on our phones. We actually get alerts of an accident with rescue or structure fire, or vegetation fire alert on our pulse point on our phone before we actually get dispatched. That's how quick it is. Computer aided dispatch and the warning system notifications. Evacuation planning, zone haven, I believe you heard about that. Implementation, grant funded digitalization project. And again, that's, I'm not sure if that's Measure X money, but grant funded to help with the technologies that we're getting right now to help us have faster response time, more information quicker, and more accurate information. To bring major improvements to evacuation planning and conduct. The wildfire threat remains high, and you guys all know that. You've seen the news, you've seen it in person. A trend to ever longer, less predictable fire weather continues. All indicators point to earlier dangerous season of fire weather. No area of county is risk-free. Some are heightened risk. Contra Costa County is far from immune to dangers, and we all know that. In fact, in 2021, wind-driven vegetation fires proved dangerous across the county, displacing more than 50 residents from homes and apartments. None were in the high threat zones. A lot of it due to lack of preparation, like heat abatement, defensible space, things like that played a part in each incident. And almost done. Beyond wildfire danger, simple steps saves lives in fires. Things like working and tested smoke alarms. I can't count how many times I've been in a house or apartment where the smoke alarms were just hanging from the ceiling, no battery in them, not working. Sleeping with bedroom doors closed, regularly rehearsed home evacuation plans. My wife got on me about not having an evacuation plan, so I had to establish that, and we have to practice it. Meeting points known to all residents, and whether it's out back or in front, but everybody knows where to meet. Preventing the most common fires, like use a kitchen fire extinguisher, have one handy, everyone should know where it is and how to use it. Don't overload electrical circuits. Use caution with all open flames. Follow space heater safety guidelines. And then carbon monoxide safety, use carbon monoxide monitors, test regularly, just like you test your smoke alarms. Maintain all heating equipment in good working order, and don't sit anything combustible on top of heaters, of course. Resident involvement is key in any disaster. And the chief is just saying, we can't do it alone. First responder is the resident who prepares in advance. The first responder is the resident who prepares in advance. Property owners, families, neighbors must work together ahead of the disaster. This is a place to start for wildland fire and other disasters. And then these are the references that you can log into from the Contra Costa County Fire website. It gives you a lot of information on evacuation plans or escape routes, fire safety, a number of the things I just highlighted. And that's end of Confire's presentation. Any questions? And I will relinquish the screen.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, Chief Thomas. Any questions for Chief Thomas from the board, from the council?
Chief Thomas, can you stop sharing so we can see people? Thanks.
Yeah.
I was trying to find that button. Okay, is it stop sharing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, perfect.
So.
And I have a
it
question
looks like
and a
Dr.
comment.
McLean has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So first off, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of our partner Planting Justice. As you may know, there was a wildfire that destroyed 300 of their trees.
Wow.
And the reason I'm certainly thanking you all for your quick response, getting it out. It could have taken out so many more because they have 1,600 trees on their farm here in El Sobrante. But it was quick action that kept it to only 300 trees. Sadly, they were loaded with peaches.
Oh,
So they lost pretty much their whole stone fruit harvest and collection. But the reason I wanted to mention it publicly, besides just wanting to thank you, is that the fire was started by a neighbor who decided to burn a brush pile.
wow.
And weed abatement, obviously, we all want to do it, but don't burn your brush piles.
Do not.
Just don't burn your brush piles. It's a horrifying loss. And so even if you think, oh, the fog's been in and maybe the dew point was good today, it's not the way to do it. And people, your neighbors may pay for it.
Yes. Yes. And was
But
that,
thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Was that the incident on the 15th? June
Yes,
15th?
on the 15th, up the farm that they have is between Manor, Hilltop, and Marin Roads. Behind those roads is a large, like 9-acre area, and that's where their farm is. And yeah, it was on the 15th.
Okay, yes. Battalion Chief Jim Brooks handled that incident, and I was sent the information on it, and it sounds like it was threatening a number of homes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it could have taken homes. It could have, if you all hadn't acted quickly. I mean, it's horrifying that it took 300 peach trees and stone fruit trees, but it could have taken homes. It could have taken people. It could have taken animals. They have goats up there. They have other livestock. And other than the loss of the trees, which is awful, you all prevented it getting worse because that really could have gotten out of hand.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you.
But don't burn your brush.
Don't burn your brush. Even on a burn day, they monitor and they take weather reports and things like that. And people who have burn permits still have to check in with.
Well, they didn't
Make
have a
sure
permit.
it's a burn day,
They
but-
just thought it was a good idea, and it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Not good.
So, yeah, you need a permit. You need to talk to people. Don't take it upon yourself to burn a brush pile.
Okay, point well taken, Dr. McLean. And it looks like Mickey Norris has a question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if these people who started a fire like that are being held accountable in some way. And also, if there might be a budget or something like for some PSAs, public service announcements, to the public to remind them of not burning things like that, or their brush and things.
There,
Are-
yes, ma'am.
Is
There are.
there a public education component that's active at this point during fire season?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have a public education budget and an office that puts out information not only on our website, but they're also, I believe, putting together PSAs just as a reminder, but along with being interviewed on a regular basis by the news media. Our public information officer, Steve Hill, is doing an excellent job with trying to get information out before we got to the wildland season, during wildland season, and answering any questions online as well.
Maybe we could have John Joya, Edgar, maybe we could have John Joya's office putting out in their regular newsletters, reminders of some sort, like don't burn, be mindful of why it's wildfire season, be mindful of that.
Yes, I think John did do a social media blast on, we're in fire season, especially with the fireworks, but I'll remind John to, possibly do something that's, like every week provide a post just reminding folks that, hey, where there is a drought, fire, grass fires are something that can happen more now than before, and they should be cautious of the way that they kind of get rid of any vegetations or do work around the house. So I'll take note of that. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the council? If not, if there are questions from people who aren't in the council, other attendees? I don't see any hands up. So Chief Thomas.
Actually, I have my hand up.
I'm sorry, Chris, I did not see that. Apologies.
No problem, Tom. I appreciate it. By the way, I appreciate the way you're doing the meeting and everything too. Yeah, my questions are twofold. One is that PowerPoint available online? Actually, I should turn on my camera. Is a PowerPoint available online for us to link to?
I will double check. I believe it is. I believe it's one of the resources that were in that second to the last slide that I shared. If not, I will make sure it's available.
Okay, great, because we'd like to put that on our website. And the other thing is, does the fire department have any recommendations for, like, we have wood fences around our property, a part of it at least, and we have wooden decks. Is there some kind of fireproofing that the department might recommend that people apply to those kind of things? Because I know that they're saying we shouldn't have them anymore, but we do.
That's a very good question. I used to go to Home Depot and ask about the same thing. But I will check with my Fire Prevention Bureau and make note of that, and I will add that as well. But I believe Home Depot knows about certain things like that, and I know that our fire prevention will be more in detail, so I'll present that question to them. There are a number of fire retardant stainings and things like that. I can't recommend anyone, but I'll get more information on it for you.
All right, well, thank you. And I see my camera's not loading, but I'm done with my question.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Chief Thomas? So I don't see any hands up or any hands raised. So Chief Thomas, thank you so much for your presentation and for the work that you and your department does. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe evening.
You too.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And next we have Lieutenant Mark Rodriguez of the Sheriff's Base Station.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'll start with the reports for the month of June, and then we'll touch on some other issues and open it up to questions. For the month of June, El Sobrante had 791 calls for service. Of those 791 calls for service, 71 reports were generated. For the select crime trends, we're seeing a trend downward. So for the month of April, we had 35 select crimes. The month of May, we had 24. And in June, we're at 19. And just as a reminder, select crime trends refer to both crimes against persons as well as crimes against property. More specifically, crimes such as homicide, attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, robbery, burglary, commercial theft, thefts from vehicles, and vandalisms and stolen vehicles. So one of the areas where we saw the biggest decline had to do with vandalisms. In the month of May, there was 6, both of the misdemeanor level and then also felony level, and that's determined just by the amount of damage that's done. And for the month of June, we had no vandalisms reported. What we continue to see is crimes against property more so than crimes against person. With that being said, on Thursday, last Thursday, the 7th, we had an incident on Renee Court, which is off of May Road, and it came out as a shots fired call. So thankfully, nobody was injured. However, it was a very dangerous situation. Essentially what happened was a homeowner interrupted the theft of a catalytic converter. So there was 2 suspects that were in the process of stealing the catalytic converter. Now, mind you, this crime was taking place at about 9:30 in the morning. The homeowner was awakened to the loud banging. address the suspects from behind a metal screen door, essentially by yelling out at them. As they were fleeing the driveway with the catalytic converter in hand, the homeowner says, "I didn't see any weapons. I felt it was safe to give chase," and chased them down the driveway. Just as the passenger with the catalytic converter was getting in the car, the driver stopped in front of the vehicle, turned, pointed a weapon at the homeowner, and then fired a single round. So I caution you guys, please continue to call in. As frustrating and angry, how much anger you can get with the emotions. Please don't try to intervene. We're just seeing that it's becoming more and more violent out there. So in this instance, we were able to get vehicle descriptions. However, they had their license plates covered, and that was verified by both the homeowner and other witnesses. So just again, I caution you. We're seeing the catalytic converters are continuing to be a problem, but more so now is we're seeing the violence associated with it as well. So we're continuing to work towards the El Sobrante stroll. I know the reserves have received notice that we're going to be participating in the event, and they've received the request to help us staff it. Tom, I'll get with you. I've got some insight on some additional equipment. I'll run by you and see if the chamber is interested in utilizing that at all. So we'll touch base in regards to that. I just found out about that this afternoon. And other than that, that's all I have at this time. And with July 4th, we started with the increase in staffing that the sheriff's office had petitioned for and the board of supervisors approved. So on swing shift, we received 2 additional bodies. That brings our B cars up to seven B cars on the west end of the county. And then on weekend graveyard, we have 7 deputies assigned to that shift as well. So that will greatly reduce the response times. It allows our deputies to remain in their beats a lot longer. Whereas before, if we were in a 4-beat system, depending on where your call for service came, if I was in El Sobrante and I'm assigned to El Sobrante and my partner receives a call in North Richmond that requires a 2-deputy response, I would be leaving El Sobrante to go to North Richmond. So you can imagine the kind of time it takes, especially if we're talking about commute hours. So this should have a great impact and allow us to be more present and within the communities that we're assigned. Any questions at this time?
So we'll start off. Thank you for your presentation, Lieutenant Rodriguez. We'll start off with questions from the board. Mickey has her hands up.
Yeah, I was wondering if there are any arrests, if any arrests have been made in that shooting that was, I think, last September on Davila Way and La Honda Road.
Off the top of my head, I'm not aware of that. That was prior to me coming back out here, but I can look into that and get a response for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. And Dr. McLean had her hand raised.
Thanks, Lieutenant Rodriguez, and I get to thank you also for reaching back out to us. Clearly, the week of the 13th and 15th was really awful for us because on the 13th we discovered 180,000 plus wire theft burglary at our site in El Sobrante. And so I'm saying that, thank you, Lieutenant, for finally getting that moved up the chain of command and for getting me connected with Detective Duran. It's a catastrophic loss for us at the Good Table. It's a catastrophic loss for us. And I hope you guys find somebody. I don't have hope that you will. But I just wanted to thank you publicly for reaching out to me personally and for whatever you guys can do to help. I can just say, I don't know if there's a link between catalytic converters and wire thieves, but maybe there weren't as many calls for service. But I suspect there weren't any other $200,000 burglaries in the county. I suspect we win. Um, so, you know, it's not the size of the, I mean, size of all thefts are awful for people. But these are, you know, ours was catastrophic. And I would love it if we could shut these folks down. I don't know what you do, but find a way.
Okay.
Yes,
That,
Mr.
that
Payne,
is, I just can't get over what terrible news that is, Melinda. What impact do you think it will have on the completion timeline for completion of the project? I don't know. Yeah.
No, when you have to go back and do all the rough electrical and you have to deal with insurance companies and you have to deal with all, we have no idea now. I mean, it's just all bets are off. But anyway, Lieutenant, um, I appreciate you reaching out to me. And I do, I thank you for that. But these, even if they're not many of them, they're catastrophic. So I don't know how we break up. The word on the street is that there are particular gangs of meth users that are engaged in this. And, you know, I even told the detective who our contractor thinks did it. But I don't know how we find them. I don't know how we do something about this, but it's getting to be just insane for people.
Yeah, Ms. McLean, I agree. And one is too many. One theft, one burglary, that is too many. And I don't mean to make light or minimize that. That was not my intent in the report. I completely agree with you. I do know that in speaking with Detective Duran, not only in regards to your case, but in regards to other cases on the West End, that we are having a lot of success with the DNA returns. And I know that in specific to your case, DNA was collected. And I'm hopeful that we can get something out of that. And we'll go from there. I know they recently, he shared with me recently that one of the burglaries that took place on Dam Road where they used the dump truck to smash into the storefront, they actually identified the suspects in that and were able to, well, one unfortunately was, I believe was the victim of a homicide in Oakland shortly thereafter, but the other one they've identified. So, and based on that DNA, they're working on getting warrants authored both for their arrest as well as for searches of properties related to that. So there is some success, especially with the new technology, new tools that we have. As far as the connection goes between the copper thieves as well as you know, the catalytic converter thefts, it's anything for them that's going to hold value. And in particular to the copper wiring and the catalytic converters is they're easy for them to pawn. For the catalytic converters, it's not the converter itself, it's the materials within inside. That's why they tend to target vehicles such as Toyotas, you know, your 4Runners, Toyota Priuses, also your Hondas. And it has to do with how they're manufactured and the materials used. And there's no identifying information. So when they go, it's, you know, short of someone having it serialized, they're able to sell it, you know, and of course they're getting pennies on the dollar, which is, you know, just further victimization, right? So I apologize, and we're working on it. I know Detective Duran is working on it, and I agree with you. That is a catastrophic loss, and we'll continue to investigate it.
So,
Thank you again.
okay. Are there further questions from members of the council? In that case, I would like to just thank you, Lieutenant Rodriguez, for your enthusiastic support of the El Sobrante stroll, and look forward to talking with you about sheriff resources. So many, many thanks. Are there questions for Lieutenant Rodriguez from attendees other than the council? Chris Conrad, please.
Thank you. And my question has to do with the catalytic converter and the wire theft related issue, which is, it seems to me, I don't know about for wire, but with catalytic converters, it would be worth spending extra money for people to put some protection on it. And I'm thinking they have these where you put a chip in a pet or something and you can track it. Is there something like that that would be small enough to attach to someone's catalytic converter, or to put in, say, the wire that Melinda is talking about, that would then be able to track where it had been moved to? Is that something that's being explored if it's not available yet? Thank you.
In specific response to the catalytic converter thefts, it can be as simple as, having a personal identifier, whether it's your initials, a specific number that that you put on there, and have that engraved on the catalytic converter. They also have these cages, which in some cases can just be metal that goes around the catalytic converter. And the main purpose there is if they really want to get through it and get it off, they will. But the thieves that are doing these, they're typically getting these things off within a couple minutes, because it's 2 cuts and the catalytic converter is coming off. So if your vehicle has some sort of device that if I were to look underneath there and realize, well, that's going to be more than 2 cuts, and the one right next to it doesn't, more often than not, they're going to go with the easier steel. As far as the wire, Melinda's right; it won't work, at least not at this point. I'm sure as far as the industry goes, people are working on, how do we engrave or put some sort of identifying number on that, so when they take it, a recycler can't use it. Then typically, when the recyclers see that there's some sort of identifying information on it, they know that the risk to their business license is not worth the reward. So a lot of times they'll just turn that away.
I see. I didn't realize that Melinda was talking about wire being ripped out of the place. I thought it was more of a coils or something like that. But okay.
No, it was all the rough electrical, all of it, the whole building, 7,000 square feet. That's how it got to $200,000.
Okay. Just to keep moving with questions for Lieutenant Rodriguez, Angela Vato has her hand up.
Yes, hi. I was wondering if there's anything in the works as far as dealing with sideshows, but not just sideshows necessarily here. The problem that I have is that I can hear everything in the valley, and the cars can go from the city of Richmond to county jurisdiction to city of Richmond jurisdiction back to county before they even let off the gas. And I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do. I know that traffic is CHP, but is there anything in the works or that we can do to get some more resources out here to deal with the sideshow and, this crazy car driving problems that we have?
Yeah, in regards to the sideshows, I know that we try and keep ahead of them with intelligence as far as notifying our partners and making sure that we're coordinated with them when we see on social media that, hey, there's going to be a post of one taking place in your jurisdiction, and getting other resources. As far as the speeding goes, that's something that I know has been addressed with CHP in this. My understanding is, based on Officer Labiste's reports, is that CHP staffing is increasing. They're getting trainees out here on the West End. So hopefully we'll start to see more patrols. And then with our staffing increasing as well, we should have more of a presence and be able to conduct more enforcement in the area. So yeah, it is something we're aware of, and the sideshows are dangerous for everyone involved, even those that are driving the vehicles. So
have you guys ever, has anybody thought about or talked about utilizing drones because I know that they scatter as soon as you guys come, but drones in the air to me would be a great resource to try to help deal with some of that.
Yeah, the drones would assist with just being able to have eyes on. What we tend to do is work with the helicopter units. And so I was assigned with the Sheriff's Office Air Support Unit previously as a flight observer. And for one, it's an officer safety issue just due to the number of vehicles that tend to take place. They greatly outnumber the deputies or officers involved. So being able to have the cars, they can identify, the vehicles that are driving, and then a lot of it is just comes down to manpower and being able to break it up. The drones are good for situational awareness, but there's certain restrictions on how high you can fly them, line of sight waivers, things like that. So in that aspect, it'd be more appropriate to have either the Sheriff's Office Air Support Unit in the air or the CHP's helicopter or air fixed wing.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you. And I appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. We have a hands raised by Monica.
Oh, can you hear me? This is
Yes.
Monica Wood. Yeah, I've noticed the same increase, Ben. It's not just speeding, it's reckless driving. I was actually almost killed by two young men racing in very expensive cars on Valley View at rush hour, which, man, I don't understand. But there are some methods that we can get where there's like bumpers and things. Do we try to go to the county for help with stuff like that? Or do we go through the CHP? So they said rubber things on the road or things that would block the traffic, because there's like some known points where they continuously go.
Yeah, if you're talking about anything traffic related, that especially if we're talking about affixing anything to the roadway, a traffic survey is going to have to be conducted, and then typically that Public Works or whatever municipality is responsible for that stretch of the road is going to have to get involved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I don't see any further hands up. So in that case, Lieutenant Rodriguez, thank you so much for your report and for everything you and the sheriffs do for us.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Okay. So moving on, the next presentation is from East Bay Municipal Utility District, EdMUD, and I believe there's an EdMUD representative here.
No, sorry about that. I
Okay.
forgot to remove that one. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I'll do that.
I know we had one. That's like, there must be something new.
Yeah, no.
Great events occurring at EdMUD that we have to hear about, but okay. In that case, that sets the stage for your report on county issues, Edgar.
Yes, so John's not able to make it today, and in addition to the California Highway Patrol officer, so the officer who's assigned to RB, his name is David Arias. He's not able to make it today. He gave me a call 10 minutes, 30 minutes ago, 30 minutes before the meeting started, and told me that he was on his way to a training. He didn't have his report, so he wasn't going to be able to present nor give me the numbers of last month's, I guess, roundup. So with that, I'm going to go straight to the county report that John sent me, and also an update with some of the items I've been working on since last month's meeting, if that's okay. So I'll start off with our COVID report. So there has been an increase in the number of new COVID cases throughout the county, and the county's public health strongly recommends that folks who are over 50 get the second booster. It's been at least 4 months since the last booster was administered. So if it's been 4 months since the last booster was administered. So if you're over 50 and have not received the second booster, it's been recommended to do so. Let's see. We recently had our MAC training for the project proposals. We had a handful of folks showed up, not the whole council, but that's okay. We recorded the training, and that's going to be available on the supervisor's website. So I'll let folks know if you didn't go to the training, you weren't available, let me know, and I'll send you an email when that training is going to be available online. Let's see. So the county has completed a transportation study about creating a bike lane on San Pablo Dam Road, that will cover, let me get the exact area that's going to cover. So the study covers Castro Ranch Road all the way up to Appian Way, but they had two alternatives in terms of two kind of studies. One of them went up to May Road, and then the second one went up to Appian Road. And as soon as that report is finalized, John and I have a meeting with Public Works tomorrow. As soon as that study is finalized, we'll present that to the MAC. So most likely it'll be our next meeting in the August meeting. So we'll present that transportation study. We'll have Public Works present that study to the group. Let's see, on the 20th, I'm sure Mickey's going to talk about this. So on the 20th at 5 p.m. is the El Sobrante MAC Illegal Dumping Subcommittee meeting, and that will cover the National Cleanup Day. From my understanding, that day is still to be determined, but I'm sure that Mickey will, talk a little bit more about that. If not, then we'll circle back. But that meeting's on the 20th at 5 p.m. and that's also a public meeting, so folks from the public can attend, and it will be in accordance with the Brown Act. Let's see. I believe that is it in terms of county updates. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh, actually, one last thing. We're working on a regional cleanup day. The date is going to be sometime in September. This cleanup day is going to be sponsored by Caltrans. So they're going to provide all the funding for the buckets and the transportation, and partnered with the County Public Works and the City of San Pablo. So it's going to be a regional West County cleanup day. So that means that all the cities most of the cities in West County will be able to participate. So which cities are those is still to be determined, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be it includes all the unincorporated cities. We're just waiting on a couple of cities to let us know whether they're going to be participating. But the location is going to be at the Hilltop Mall parking lot, and that's going to be in September. Let's see. I think that is all I have.
Okay, thank you, Edgar. Are there any questions from the board for Edgar Rosales? Mickey?
Yeah, Edgar, when you say the cleanup day, regional cleanup day, are you talking about picking up litter? Or are you talking about having dumpsters available for the neighbors to dump stuff?
Having dumpsters available.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's not going to be where folks kind of walk around and clean up. It's going to be more of, the county's going to, the Caltrans is going to provide the dumpsters, and it's going to it's going to give an opportunity for folks to go and, throw out any trash that they might have.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I participate in that I think it's mid-October every year, and it's good fun. Come by with your pickup truck or your U-Haul full of junk, and there are guidelines on what you can bring, but it's a nice way of just getting rid of that stuff that might be accumulating in your crawl space. So yeah, if we're going to have a second one of them this year, great opportunity. So, okay, are there further questions for Edgar?
That's a good question. I just saw Susan's question. Does it include hazardous material? I don't know.
No, I don't know what this specific one, the ones we usually have don't include hazardous materials.
Right.
So
I'm not 100% sure. That's a good question. I'll ask that I'll ask that to Caltrans and the Public Works Department, but that's a good question.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no further questions for Edgar, then did you have a question again, Sue?
Yeah, I also
Okay.
wanted to know about large appliances and mattresses.
Okay, I think those are fine.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure those are fine, but let me see exactly what is going to be acceptable
And
what's not.
electronics as well.
Yeah, and the dumpster is going to be provided. It's going to be funded by Caltrans, but Republic Services are going to be the ones who are going to provide the dumpsters, and they're also presenting during the subcommittee. So they'll be there to answer those questions because they're the ones that are going to provide the same dumpsters, the same services. So I'll follow up with Republic before then, but they'll be there on the 20th.
I mean, it does seem sensible to have an everything in kind of thing, because I know that there have been other hazardous material drop-offs, and it just makes sense to do all of it at the same time, so you don't have people sneaking terrible stuff into the landfill.
Right. The issue with that is with not having kind of this a dumpster for hazardous material. And I agree with you. I mean, ideally, I would like to have a dumpster for everything, just because my fear is that if they don't find a place to throw it, they're not taking it back home, right? So I'll let Caltrans folks know, given that they're the ones who are sponsoring it, and Republic. And I think that's a very good question and something I can bring to the table during our next meeting. Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah.
So thank you, Suzanne. So we have two hands raised. First, Chris, and then Flora Viray.
Edgar, nice to meet you. As far as it seems to me like maybe you're not the right person because of the historical aspect of my question, but don't we usually have a dumpsters here in El Sobrante, excuse me, in a couple times a year? And is this when you're talking about up in the West County one on Hilltop? Would that be in lieu of or in addition to the one that we would have here in the next one that we're supposed to have here in El Sobrante? And I don't know what the schedule is on that, so that's what I'm thinking. Somebody else might know the answer, but that's a question.
Well, I guess there's a question I have to that, and is it the one that we usually have in El Sobrante? I think the answer to that I want to say it's not, because if it's the one that's usually sponsored by our office, those dumpsters are provided by our office, and I'm not quite sure if the one you're referring to is the National Cleanup Day that Mickey does, but it sounds to me, just from the information you kind of gave me, it's not. I think the El Sobrante Cleanup Day is something else that's sponsored by our office, and we use the dumpsters that are provided to our office each year.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So we've got a question from, I guess it's Ramon, right?
Yeah, it is Ramon. Hi, how are we doing?
Hi, Ramon.
Yeah. This Saturday we're gonna have our regular cleanup, and I have decided to volunteer my services to take hazardous materials to 101 Pittsburgh after that Saturday. A few days ago, Mickey asked me to pick up some hazardous materials that the county did not want to pick up. Well, they wanted to postpone it for some other special group to pick up. So I picked them up, and they're nasty. They're about 10 chemicals in 1 gallon containers for cleaning or for taking care of vehicles, and about 40 gallons of motor oil. I have them now in my trailer and my driveway. I'm going to take them to 101 Pittsburgh and see what happens. That's a lot. And I don't know, I hope I won't get hassled. But if I succeed in doing this, I'm going to offer this service every month to our 94803 residents. So wish me luck.
Okay, well, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, wish me luck.
Okay.
I have
Good luck.
old batteries also. Old batteries and other and e-waste. I gathered e-waste as well because Caltrans did not take the e-waste that we found in the Caltrans easement last month. They left it there. So I have them home. So I'm going to take them to 101 Pittsburgh. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to take him to El Cerrito Recycling.
Thank you so much, Ramon. And if we have not already, I want to thank you. I see that Mickey did, and everyone's super grateful for, providing that service. And I invite you to our subcommittee meeting, because it's going to be an open meeting to the public. So I think you're a great resource, and you're obviously a strong advocate of the community, and we'll love to have you. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So why don't we have one final question from Angela, and then we can move on to the next section, which is review of the specific discussion items.
I was actually just going to say that there is a maximum amount of hazardous waste that you can travel with and dump at one time. And I'll send you that info, Ramon.
Okay, Angela, thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
And, I checked out this week the El Cerrito hazardous dump area also. They only take it on Tuesdays, I found out. But if Richmond doesn't take what I deliver there, I'm gonna go to El Cerrito and see what happens.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for your question and advice, Angela. So do you have your hand up, Sue? You're muted. Okay, looks like you were just scratching your head. All right, so we'll move to the next stage of the meeting, discussion items. These are development plan applications, variance reports, building modification requests, appeals, etc., received in the previous month from the Contra Costa County Conservation and Development Department and notices of public hearing. The first discussion item is number CDL P22020305, request approval of a land use permit application to add for automotive smog check station, tire, wheel sales and service. This is on 5050 Appian Way in El Sobrante. And I was hoping that the representative of that project might introduce himself and describe what exactly this application entails. Hello?
Hello. All right, can you click on the
unmute? I already unmuted it.
Here we are. Okay. My name's Alan Faria, and I'm the real estate agent representing both the buyer and the seller on this property. My client is applying for the use permit, wants to turn the property into a tire and wheel center only, no smog. It would just be for tire wheels only. It still falls under I think the criteria of the property, since it's been automotive related since 1950, what? 1956. I also have the seller of the property. His name is Mr. Dave Bailey. His father was Mel Bailey, which I'm sure if any of you are familiar with El Sobrante area, for all the years he'd been running Mel and Sons service repair out of that building for years. So the plan is just to make it into a tire and wheel sales store. The buyer, Mohammed Arif, is to my left. If you have any other questions for him, maybe he can answer them for you, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what's happening and see if we can get this thing pushed through.
Okay, so what we do is we ask questions and then give a report to the Planning Commission regarding what we think is the impact of the application on the neighborhood, as well as any other observations we have. So I guess my first question is, well, I have two questions. One of them, this is a tire place. Are you planning on storing used tires or having piles of tires or burning tires on the property?
No.
No. Okay. And then the second is, do you expect any impact in terms of traffic? Let's say more people patronizing your tire store than patronize the previous business, so that, for example, there might be more people making left turns on Appian Way heading north, for example, or heading south. Do you expect any impact on traffic or parking, or do you
No.
feel your parking lot is big enough?
No, I don't think so. We got a big parking lot, and I don't think the smog's getting a pretty good traffic there, so we don't get too much traffic.
Okay, are there questions? Are there questions? Did you, sorry, Alan, were you going to say something?
I'm just going to let you know the parking lot at that facility is more than ample for the business itself. It's
okay. Yeah, it did seem pretty big. I was wondering if any other members of the board had questions for the presenter. Mickey.
Did you say this is the same location that there's already the smog, or is this a new business that's going to be put next to it?
No, it's going to be within the same facility that is currently on the property. Currently, it's a service station property is what it originally was, and then it was converted to a smog, and now it's going to be converted to tire and sales only. It'd be within the same structure that's on the property.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Faria and his client?
I thought it looked like a pretty good use of the space, and it seems to me like it will provide a really useful local service. At the moment, we just have like big O tires. So it looks like a good idea to me from what I was looking at the plans. I couldn't see any big issues with it.
Angela, question?
I just wanted to say, as a resident, that I support it. I think it is something that we could definitely use in this area, and I would like to see it happen.
Okay, great. Chris, question or comment? You're muted.
Sorry, will people be able to drop off old tires there? Is there going to be a disposal service available for the community as part of this development?
Yes, plus a small amount because of
disposal fee.
Yeah, a fact on us on disposal fees. If somebody have a few tires, we can take it free. We pay for the disposal. Now they're charging $5 a tire to disposal.
Thank you for
I will just something that people are looking for here, though, because at least that prevents them from dumping it on the side of the road. Maybe. Anyway.
No, we don't want it dumping on the side of the roads. If somebody have it, we take it. We have a tire shop in Richmond, so we have a really good relation with the community.
Well, that sounds like a net positive then. Thank you.
Okay, Melinda.
Yeah, I would just move this along and say I think this is a wonderful reuse of this space, and I have a couple of tires that I'll definitely bring to you and not have to haul them to El Cerrito. So,
Okay.
thank you.
So to summarize the
So
discussion.
that's an official motion to recommend our approval if the rest of the board members think so.
I second that. All four approving them. So it looks like we have a majority of the board, so of the council. So Mr. Faria, looks like I will write an email to the planner saying that the MAC supports the proposed location of the business.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think this.
And thanks for coming to the meeting, and Edgar,
Yeah.
thanks for getting them here. This is how this ought to go. I'm just so happy about this.
Project
This
will
is
be a
great.
win-win for everybody involved. Thank you.
Good.
All right, so we'll move to the item number 2, which is application 02032. And this is approval of a land use permit to allow the continued operation of an existing Verizon wireless facility and to allow antenna replacement within the existing faux rooftop chimney. The facility's in-place land use permit expired under a different application number. Is the representative of that project here?
Hello, yes, I'm here. My name is Macy.
Okay. Any comments, description, anything you think we should know? Looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. There's no lease area or additional height being added. It's just a like for like antenna swap. We're just making a modification, but the permit is expired.
So, and the modification is just something internal to the antenna?
Correct.
Okay. So we won't see it. It'll just look exactly the same.
Correct. We have
Okay.
provided those SIMs to Contra Costa County. There is no physical difference.
All right, so I would like to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Okay, Sue seconds it. All board members, if you approve, raise your hand. Okay, looks like we've got a majority of the board. I'll write a note to the planner indicating that it has the support of the MAC.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for coming. And now the final presentation is item 03021, request approval of a downtown El Sobrante planned unit development plan application to develop 8 multifamily units. The project requires demolition of a single family residence and tree removal. The address is on 4301 Appian Way. The MAC considered this at the last meeting, but we had questions and we didn't have an expert available to answer them. So could the person who's representing the project please identify themselves?
Gary
Okay, Mr. Wheeler, why don't you give a just a brief description of the project? It looks pretty obvious from the drawings. But...
Yeah, I think so. Basically, we've got a narrow, deep lot. It's got an old kind of rundown house on it. It's currently rented, I understand, but and there's a couple of miscellaneous other small tool sheds and things around, just kind of generally kind of a property that needs a little love. And the owners would like to take that out. There's some old pines that are there. Take those out because they're a mess. And if the fire chief were here, he'd say, yeah. And go in with 8 units. We're looking at 8 rental units. We're not looking to sell them off. Each unit, excuse me, is 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. Each unit has a 2-car garage, which typically, from a security standpoint, people like because they don't have to walk out and enter, a public area to get to a carport to get their car. It gives them a place to store some things too. Trash and so forth that are done with individual cans inside each car, excuse me, inside each garage unit. This is fairly preliminary. I'm really not sure why it's in front of you at this point, but we're proposing to do building elevations that kind of take on more of a historical character, style, using brick, stone, stucco, a variety of colors. A little hard to tell from looking at the elevations because they're not shadowed, but each unit steps back a little bit from the one next to it or a little forward from the one next to that. So you're not looking at just a big flat wall, and there's a number of things that pop out. And so there's a lot of interest on that. And the side that, the side that is, that faces Appian Way is shown on our sheet A5, which I'm hoping you guys will have copies of. We actually found out about this meeting yesterday, so, the day before. But, it's got a popped out, it's got brick, it's got shutters, it's got a number of things that should make it attractive. Again, not just a big flat box on the side. And it's actually the narrow side of the building. So you don't just get this big monstrous structure there. We have to get a landscape architect involved. We've got the Civil working on it already, trying to figure out how we, can meet all the C3 requirements, which part of the reason we're doing a flat roof. With a parapet is that the flat roof, all the roofs need to drain to the front of the buildings or to the street side of the buildings, because the property slopes toward the creek. We have to slope toward the street, collect that water, then put it into a C3 reservoir for soaking back in. So that's why we have that. We did a similar project just 4 or 5 blocks down the street, and it had a regular pitched roof and flat section, but we had a lot more luxury of going with our water in two different sides of the building than we have here. We're really kind of limited because of that, trying to keep everything out of the creek that we can. Other than that, we're here to answer questions. You said it come to you before.
Yeah, so I had a couple of questions, and then I think other members of the council did as well. And so my question related to car ownership and traffic. So you were mentioning, each unit has a 2-car garage. To what extent are you envisioning that these families might have more than 2 cars? And if, for example, half the people have 3 or 4 cars, is there extra parking space on that driveway for extra cars? Because there's an impact that the street parking, there's a street parking issue on Appian Way. So, it'd be nice not to have a lot of car parking overflow in there.
Well, the parking requirement is 2.25 per unit.
Right.
So that would mean that we would need 10. We've provided 8 additional parking spaces currently, plus the 16 that are in there. So we're providing 24.
Okay.
So it should be a significant number of, I'm not sure, that.
So I mean, it seems it would cover, like, when people come to visit, they would be able to go up into that driveway and park.
Exactly. Plus, 1 or 2 of those, and we have the ability to make a couple more, but a couple of those are going to have to be EVs parking, for electric cars with a plug-in site and so forth. But so I'm not sure how that works for, you've got a parking space that only certain cars can use that seems to diminish the use for it. But and we can't have them in the setback, so it gets a little tricky there too. So, but as proposed, we're providing 24 spaces.
24 spaces. Okay, and that was my main concern. Are there any questions from the board, from the council, or initially? Mickey.
Thanks. That was my concern as well about the parking and guest parking too. So I'm glad that can be addressed. Will my main concern, since I am, concerned about litter and dumping and stuff, is that the apartments have adequate disposal receptacles and recycling for the apartment. I've noticed on Davila Way that when there isn't, the area around it on the street gets exceptionally littered up. So I'm hoping that there'll be good enough, dumpsters there and recycling receptacles. And my other concern is, since you're cutting down the pine trees, is there a requirement to replace trees? That you said something about landscaping, but I'm wondering if they'll be replacing trees.
Well, let's take the second one first. We do not have a landscape architect on board, and I don't believe there's an in-like kind thing for a pine tree. If we were even discussing oaks or redwoods, absolutely. But when you build a project like this and you put the money in that there will be a number of trees and other things, there to replace those pines that are messy, quite honestly. With regard to trash, again, we've done a similar apartment type setup with this before, and because they have garages, each unit will have, just as single family homes have, their own rollout cans for trash, recycles, probably not a green can, because generally we have a site like this, it's maintained with landscape service, and they would take those landscaping materials. But I honestly don't remember if we were forced to go ahead and provide green cans in the past.
So, just as a thought on that, a lot of people, put their household organic waste in little green baggies. So if you had a disposal unit for that, I think that would be great. So people could lock their green plastic organic bags out there and dump them.
I would rather opt for giving them their own green can than having it in an exterior thing that.
So if there were a way of either doing that or having an exterior, that would be great. I do recognize that people have their own disposal needs, even if they don't have a yard that they're maintaining.
Now that's a requirement in California, so it's gonna come faster that people are gonna, be pushing that. So we'll probably end up, having then 3 cans per unit inside.
And maybe small cans, small green cans for composting.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen the small ones. They have small recyclable cans. You can pay less to have a smaller recyclable can. It seems that all the green waste cans are huge. And it doesn't matter how small of a unit you have. But, if a guy's got a home in a big, large custom home somewhere, he's got the same size can as a guy that's got a 900 square foot condominium. So all in all, it's just like the idea of not having a receptacle that is a community thing that everybody uses, because someone doesn't close the door, someone's sloppy what they throw in, and there are other issues that come with that we think this avoids.
So we encourage you to keep your mind on that and consider the fact that there will be organic waste disposal needs from your individual units from the landscaping. Hopefully, the right solution will be arrived at. That's an important consideration. Any further questions from the board? Sue?
I think that overall, this looks like a really big improvement for the site as it currently stands. But as you know, we have a huge shortage of housing in West Contra Costa, and I'm wondering if these will be considered below market rent. Affordable rent, right?
That answer is yet to be determined. We would have to provide a certain percentage in order to get to 8. The question becomes what's the cost of building, given the construction costs today, doing the affordable is become even more difficult. That being said, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But we're going to have to discuss how to make those number of those units, fit for the housing element requirements. So.
Good.
Okay, thank you, Sue.
I mean, I like the overall design. I think you've done a nice job of that.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a question. Angela Votto has her hand raised.
My question is that now this development will be opening up the area more towards the creek, and I'm worried about any runoff and additional trash getting blown down, thrown down, washed down towards the creek area. What kind of fencing or mitigating circumstances do you have to take that into consideration to try to keep trash out of the creek or going from your property to the creek?
Well, I think what we just talked about, having individual cans in each unit, takes a big step towards keeping that away, rather than having a trash disposal area with 2 large dumpsters that people haphazardly throw stuff into. So I think you'll see a great improvement just from that one way of dealing with it. If someone spills garbage in the garage, they're more likely to sweep it up than they are at the trash enclosure that's across from their unit. As far as runoff, that's pretty well taken care of. There's a state requirement. We have to gather that additional runoff other than what runoff was already can be calculated and whatever. And there's a couple of areas on the site that are large basins where all the runoff from the street, all the runoff from the roofs, all that has to be captured and put into those detention basins. So we can't just build it and go, yeah, put it out in the creek. That wouldn't fly. We wouldn't get very far with that. So yeah, I think there's been, even at this early stage, a tremendous amount of thought put forward into that. I don't know if you have the ability to see the plans in front of you, but the civil engineer's drawings, it shows all that. And it's a calculable area based upon rainfall. I don't know how they calculate it when there's been no rainfall, but they take a 100-year flood year and figure out that much rain. How much is the area of the roof that you're trying to do? So what kind of volume of water are you trying to collect? And you have to have basins that will accommodate that. Additionally, you've got paved area now that wasn't there. That area is a certain amount, it gets a certain amount of rain, boom, same thing. It's added to the overall quantities of rainwater that has to be dealt with without sending it to the creek.
Great. Any further questions? If there are no further questions, I would like to move that that the council support this project. I think, my issue with parking is, 24 spaces. That's great. It's clear that a lot of thought has gone into the design, both aesthetically and in terms of environmental impact. So I move to support this project. Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, second. Can the committee vote yes or no? Hands up if yes. Okay, looks like we have a majority of the committee. I'll write a note to the planner indicating the max support for your project, Mr. Wheeler. So thank you so much for coming in and presenting to us.
Thank you.
I had a quick comment. I just wanted to remind just the council. I wanted to remind folks that one of the things that came up during our training was that if there is an issue, and thank you, Gary, for being here. If there ever is a project that you folks are obviously, it's clear that you guys want to approve it, but there's comments that you have, you can always keep those comments and put that comment in the recommendation box. So yes, this project is approved, but I want to make note that these are our concerns with this project, and that's always something that you folks can do. Yeah, so I just want to remind the council that if parking is a concern or if anything's really a concern, you can always approve the project and just bring that up to the department, to the county, that when making this consideration, look at the parking or something else that might come up, not specifically with this project, but with any project.
Okay.
That's all for me.
Gary?
Yeah, I just to Edgar, since this body is a council rather than a commission or a committee, wouldn't they have the ability to make it a condition of approval?
So what the council can do is provide the recommendation, right? And then whether the project gets approved or not, they take the recommendation of the council into consideration. The council can deny the project and they can still get approved. But with that said, the county really takes into consideration the recommendation of the county, and whether they make any action, they're determining on the comments or the recommendation, that's up to the county. It's not all up to the council, but they do consider, and the council's recommendation is weighed in that decision.
Okay.
So
right.
we aren't a determining factor here. But I will add just, thank you for that. We thank you for considering extra green storage for individual units, and for, we are supportive of having 24 parking spaces, and anything you can do to create more would be appreciated, because there's, a terrible street parking situation on Appian Way. So, but otherwise we are supportive of your project. We think it'll bring a lot to the area.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks for coming at the last minute, because we're just now kind of trying to ramp up inviting people to our meetings so that we can ask these questions. And really thank you for making the effort.
And it's great because, that way projects don't get unnecessary delays. So they can move forward, and that's good.
Very good, thank
So,
you.
all right. So now, thank you very much. That concludes the discussion items. Now we go on to public comment for items not on the agenda. I'd like to start off. I wear a couple of hats in the neighborhood, and MAC chair as well as chair of the El Sobrante Stroll Committee. And so what I'd like to do is maybe request that the stroll, we are planning it for September 18th, 2022. We have the enthusiastic support of the Sheriff's Department in helping with security for the stroll. We've had a lot of really interesting developments in terms of participation, and we'll be doing some different things with respect to stroll marketing. We have a lot of representation from community groups, so on and so forth. And so I think it'll be a really nice stroll. We canceled the stroll in 2020 and 2021 because there was a virus that had something to say about it. And so now we're trying to come back to life, as it were. So what I'd like to do, Edgar, is maybe give a PowerPoint on the stroll in our August meeting, because that way so many of the elements will have come into place, and I can give a more or less complete report on how things are unfolding. So that's my discussion, my off the agenda item. And so I'd like to open the floor to other people for public comment. Okay, looks like Cheryl Sudduth has a question. Who is responsible for returning calls to the El Sobrante stroll? We've left voicemails. So Cheryl, we've had problems because we're sort of a low income organization, and we currently don't have a real voicemail service. So I've sort of set up a Google Voice account, which tends to often sort of turn itself off if we don't get enough voicemail messages. It's really annoying. So if you have a question, what I'd like to do is just give you my voicemail, and I'm going to send it to you in, okay, this was a direct message to me. I'm just sending you my voicemail now, my cell number now. And if you have a question, please feel free to contact me, and I'll probably pass it on to Marie Karayanis, who is responsible for booths and lots of other things. So you just have my number there that I sent to you, Cheryl. Okay. Further questions? Agenda items, comments, Sue?
In terms of neighbors who want to know about how to put up stalls or anything else with regard to the stroll, how do they do that?
Are you talking about booths? So there's, if you go to the Chamber of Commerce website, the El Sobrante Chamber of Commerce website, there is a stroll application form. And so you can go there and get it. That gets sent to Marie Karayanis. If you could do it as quickly as possible, that would be great. And I have your email, Sue, and I will ask Marie to reach out directly to you.
Thank you. I can figure it out from the Chamber of Commerce. I was just wanting to know because it's coming right up, and I know I have some neighbors who will want to participate.
Sue, I just put the stroll application in the chat. You can download it, and that gives you all the information you need to know. And the deadline is July 31st if you want a booth or something. So,
okay,
but that stroll application will have all the information you need.
Okay, so Melinda did me one better. All right, Angela, question?
I just want to say, if you guys need any help like making a flyer for it so that we can start like advertising or publishing it on social media.
So we have that covered. So we have a social media person who's going to start a campaign in August. So it'll go the whole month of August and then the first 2 weeks of September.
Okay, cool. I
It
just
doesn't
wanted
make
to,
a lot of sense to publicize it throughout the summer. I think you want to get it when relatively close to the event.
yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that you guys
But
had it
really,
covered
that's very
or-
kind of you to offer, and we really appreciate it. Okay. Any other public comments? Okay, so I'll give a more complete, a complete presentation on the stroll in mid-August. And yeah, so in that case, if there are no further public comments, are there any information reports?
Excuse me. Yeah, I was fiddling around here and didn't quite get up. One thing I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I'd just like to give a shout out to James Lyons for all of his years of work. This is my first meeting without him, and so this seems like an appropriate time to just say how much we appreciate him over the years, and to say, from my perspective, welcome Edgar, even though the rest of you may have already had this conversation.
Thank you, Chris. I will let James know. James and I talk every week, as you can imagine. And I will let him know. Yeah, James has been extremely helpful with this transition. Like I said, we check up with each other every week, and every question I have, he answers them. So I'll let him know, Chris. Thank you. And it's been, the group has been great. The office has been great, and I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
And totally agree with Chris that we all love James as well. Okay, so are there any information reports from MAC members? If not, we can move to subcommittee reports. And I guess that means you, Mickey, on the
Okay.
cleanup committee.
All right. Well, first of all, I thank you, Edgar, for including the information about our regular third Saturday of the month cleanups. The next one is this coming Saturday, July 16th. As usual, we meet at 10 o'clock at the library, the El Sobrante Library, where people sign in, borrow equipment, check it out if they need it, and pick out an area to clean. We will have some suggestions, but come with your own suggestions as well. And so we clean up for 2 hours. And so that's this Saturday. I wanted to, as long as we still have Angela on this meeting, maybe our group, the Green Team, can take you up on some of your offers for social media help or getting the promotion out to generate more participation. I have an email list going of people that have been participating on and off at our events. So I sent out a message to let them know about it, and also about the meeting, the upcoming meeting that of our illegal dumping and littering subcommittee, which will be next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And the Zoom invitation will be going out, I believe, early next week for it, unless it's at the end of this week. I'll need to get Edgar the agenda, but at that meeting, we want to start planning for a National Cleanup Day, which our group has decided to do it the week after the general National Cleanup Day, which is September 17th. That's going to be the Coastal Cleanup Day. So if people want to participate in that, that's great. But we want to have ours the following Saturday, so that not only if there's a mess on downtown after the stroll that we want to get the word out at the stroll. So we're going to have a booth there, and we're going to be set up next to spawners, since we are collaborating on our National Cleanup Day effort, since we did such a great job together on our Earth Day, and they'll take care of the creeks and we'll take care of the streets, and hopefully generate a lot of participation, but also hand out a lot of information on what people can do with all their stuff. We have a nice frequently asked questions flyer. We have flyers about what goes in the green bins and the blue bins and what they take at the recycling centers. We have a whole bunch of information pieces that we want to make available to the public at the stroll, and also let them know that they can help us clean up the following week. So at our meeting next Wednesday, we're going to be talking about what we want to do for the National Cleanup Day effort, what we want to do at the stroll. And we're trying to get the public services there as well. I know BL is kind of busy that day, so she might lend us a quick PowerPoint on what goes in these different bins, so that people know and don't get in trouble, you know, and are doing the best they can to recycle correctly, compost correctly, and that kind of thing. So you're all welcome to join us next Wednesday night at 5 o'clock. And this Saturday for our cleanup at the library. And I think that's it for now, unless people have some questions for us.
Any
And
questions?
Sue, I'm hoping that you'll be there with us next Wednesday.
Edgar,
Value your input, Sue.
yeah.
I've got
Edgar,
I've got some ideas too.
Okay, good.
Edgar, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I will be at both, Mickey. I'll be at the regional cleanup. I'm more than happy, and I'm gonna be there this Saturday. Yes, and the second comment was that BL did confirm that she will be at the meeting next Wednesday. She will be able to be there at least for 40, at the most for 45 minutes, but she will be presenting. So whatever time we have available for her, she'll be able to make time.
Oh, great. Who is that again?
BL, she is the representative for Republic Services.
Yeah, I've met BL, and I heard, I thought that she said that she had another meeting, so she was unavailable, but maybe it opened up.
She thought it was in person.
Oh, okay.
And she thought she was gonna have to commute, but since it's gonna be a Zoom, she said she can make it.
Oh, excellent, great. So we'll probably stick her near the beginning, because the rest of the meeting will probably, you know, so we can release her. I think one of the concerns that we have is with the Republic blue trucks that are picking up our recycling. We personally, Chris and I, my husband, Chris Conrad here, we personally found pieces of our recyclable litter on San Pablo Dam Road. Now, we live on Regency Court, and I know for a fact that we did not drop it there. So it did come out of the truck, and we have other people who have witnessed the recycling trucks that spew litter out of the back. And I know they want us to get the numbers for the truck to let them know, but I think that's kind of almost an impossible task that of an ask of the public to write the numbers when they're driving on the freeway, or if we don't see it. So it's going to have to be communicated, and I will communicate with Sean Moberg and also BL that we're hoping that more steps can be taken to cover the truck so that it limits the amount of litter that's flying out of the trucks and creating some of the litter that we have to go back and clean up. So that's one of our concerns, but I know that people might have some questions for them as well. So hope to see you guys there. Thank you for coming on Saturday. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Okay, any questions for Mickey? In that case,
I join in on a little bit though, on the committee report, Mick.
What's that, Chris?
I say, can I tail onto your report a little bit?
Yeah, if
sure,
you
go
have
ahead.
something.
Which is
Good.
basically that two things I just want to bring up. One is that because the subcommittee is also involved with beautification, that we've connected with Dorcas, who is the person who has something to do with maintaining the flower vases up and down the business district. And or some of them have fallen to neglect, and so we're trying to get those covered, the ones that are neglected. And that's part of another thing that we're doing with the committee here. And also, we are talking about putting up a third Saturday banner at that corner of Appian Way and Valley View, where there's always banners up on the top of the fence and so forth. But I've noticed that lately someone's been taking those banners down with more regularity. It used to be that they were the same ones up there forever and ever. Now it seems like they're coming down. And so I was wondering if anybody, if there's some way that we could get some support for having one up there that would not be taken down. And does anybody know how we would find out who's in charge of that fence?
Which banners, Chris? Where are they?
Well, the subcommittee, it's all kind of complicated how we all relate, but the green team does the third Saturday of every month cleanups. And so we wanted to.
That's not his question.
Yeah.
His question is, where are the banners being hung?
There are no banners right now. We don't have a
You
banner.
just
up.
said that people have
Why-
been taking them down.
Yeah, I just noticed
He's
that someone's taking.
referring to the area, by Sue's Kitchen across, at the triangle up there, that fence that there's normally a lot of banners, and we
That's
just
the answer
drove
he's
by
looking
there and
for.
there aren't any. Yeah, so we're looking for that location since a lot of people see it. And also maybe on a fence on Appian near San Pablo Dam Road, so the community can get informed on a more regular basis. It's always a struggle on how do we communicate with the community, but maybe your fence is also available as a regular thing.
Our fence is
Melinda.
always available, and our bushes have been trimmed, so it looks a lot better than it used to. Since we had the Lake Merritt group come out and do all the fancy pruning. So feel free to come hang on our fence. That would be fine. I'm just going to mention this, and I'll do it offline. There are some folks in conversation with Nicole Dunn in the chamber about potentially doing some murals in the Triangle District. This is also a beautification idea, and I will try to loop you into the folks who are having this conversation, because some murals around town would be lovely.
Is that Evan by any chance? Is he one of those people? Evan?
I don't know if Evan's involved in it. I do know Serge Glushkov and Nicole Dunn from the council, from the Chamber of Commerce, have been very engaged in it, and they're also working with youth groups as opposed to Evan. But Evan may be involved with that. I don't know.
So, okay, thank you, Mickey, for your report, and to everybody for their comments. We've had a really, I thought, substantive meeting today. And so I think we can adjourn. Are there any objections? No? Okay, well, thank you, everybody. And look forward to seeing folks next month.
Thank you,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.